Next game up is Kansas State at Stanford, and it's the last game. It's on Friday, September 2nd, I believe, and I think it's 16.5 most everywhere. Stanford is the favorite. My personal number is 13.5 actually, so it's quite a few points lower. I did my best when I was going through the season, prepping, setting power ratings for all the teams, to be as conservative as possible with Stanford. They lose Kevin Hogan, who's been a 4-year starter there, and they bring in Keller Christ, I believe is how you pronounce his name. We'll see how he does behind center. I mean, they still have McCaffrey. Obviously, he was a Heisman candidate last year. He's another front runner this year to win the Heisman. They're going to have another really solid defense. David Shaw is a fantastic coach. But Hogan's definitely a reason that they were able to move the ball a lot better last year offensively and open things up for McCaffrey as well. And so if the defenses are able to just focus on McCaffrey or the run game because they don't trust, and the quarterback can't make plays, that's going to hinder the offense quite a bit. And so from a power ratings perspective, they're not going to be as good as they were a year ago. So I brought them back down. I think that's why I'm only showing here a minus 13.5, and the market's saying right now it's 16.5. It may come down a little bit, but I'm not going to actually end up playing a game on Kansas State or making a play on Kansas State. I don't think. I'm not actually sure where the open was in this game. I should have looked before I pushed play and fired this recording up. But let me just check real quick, if you guys don't mind. All right, it's set at 16.5 the entire time. So there hasn't been any movement on this game, and plenty of games have moved a ton. So if anything, that's probably pretty telling that this is about where the number should be as well. And for me, Kansas State's a team that's, I think their win total is 5.5. I'm going to pull that up right now as well. For some reason, I forgot to run through a couple mental notes when I just pushed play and started going. But let me check. Yeah, it's 5.5. And if I recall, I had it right around there, something like 6 wins. But the 5.5 is juiced over pretty good. So they're not like a team that's going to be poor. They're not a team that's going to be great, though, like they've had in the past. A few times they've made runs. They're just right where they are. Their power rating is like 76.5, which is basically slightly above average, but they're in the Big 12, so that's why their win total is a little lower than maybe 6 or 6.5 or 7. And so, yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Bill Snyder can do. Last year they had a ton of injuries. Essentially, if they're not having those types of injuries this year, then they might surprise and they might end up getting 6 or 7 wins. But for me, it's a pass here in this Week 1 game. And as far as a futures standpoint, I didn't do anything with Kansas State either. So, yeah, I think that's it here, wrapping this one up, and we'll move on to the next game.